All right, good morning. We're here with our guest speaker for September, Gadalie Vabe, who is a good friend of mine in the human design world. I actually met her in the first coaching group where I learned about human design. So we have been co-students, co-creators, mentors together for a number of years. And I will say she's such a light in this world. I know we're going to learn so much today from all the knowledge and wisdom this manifesting generator has. So Gadalie, give yourself a little more introduction on what you do and take it from here.
Beautiful. Thank you, Christy. Thank you so much. And it's always, our human design journey has just been amazing. I just remember when we just got first introduced to it, it was like, what is this? And now it's just really part of our everyday lives. And I use human design on my clients all the time because it helps them when I'm doing movement programs with them about where they align. So it's really quite fun. I have been in the fitness and movement industry for over 20 some years. I am a functional movement specialist. What is that? I have my fellowship in applied functional science. I'm a certified personal trainer. I'm a golf fitness trainer. And I work with a lot of clients that have been in beginner mode, post-rehab, afraid of exercise, wanting to accelerate their exercise, get more out of their exercise, how exercise in their body is attached to their spirit life, bring the spirituality in coaching, and just kind of bring all that mind, body, spirit together. And this is where human design works in really well. So I'm going to put the invitation out there. If you have any questions on this, feel free to raise your hand. Christy, I'm going to ask for you to keep an eye on the chat box, okay? So if something shows up that you can flag me down, because I can't see the chat box if I'm doing the presentation. So are we ready for this? Nod, yes, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's what I like to see. When it's muted, it's really kind of hard to get that excitement across the room, So, give me a couple of hands high, fist pump, whatever it is, to show me what's going on, like, hell, yeah, okay. So being that we have projectors in the room, and we have generators and manifestors in the room, and hopefully soon to have a man-gen in the room as well, that we all understand kind of where we're at. So I'm going to move into the next slide. So here we go. Exercise in your energy centers. And what we have, your open and defined centers help define your exercise success. Now, I'm going to actually redefine exercise a little bit, because exercise can be what I call an ugly word. Exercise, you have your exercise drills, you have your you have your mathematic exercises, you have all those disciplines, and disciplines require willpower and all those other things. So just get rid of the word exercise as it is, and just think about movement opportunities, okay? And also exercise in some other types of exercise is medicine. So it's a prescription. But sometimes we don't like following prescriptions. We like to be able to do things and go out and play. So it has a mixed connotation of the word, but use it in the exercise play, exercise movement, exercise your freedom to be who you are, and exercise to own your movement space. So use that word a little bit more freer. I don't like the rigidity that the word brings all the time. So when you have as we know, your open center and your defined centers, and we know that open centers, you're like a radio, and you receive everybody else's energy and you amplify. And if you're defined, what happens in that area, that you have this energy and you're like a radio station and you're projecting that energy out all the time. So when you're by yourself and you have your exercise and movement opportunities, they usually are different from when you're with others. So in that, you're going to find some areas that you do really well, where you amplify, if you have an open center, to enjoy something, or it amplifies and it creates angst. Or when you're a defined center, you don't know the impact of the energy you're putting out there on somebody else, and then they maybe have a great response to you, or they have a negative response to you, and you don't always know what's going on. And some of these things, if we look at, if we're familiar, we have your head, You got your downloads that people can coach and deliver. You have your Aja, how we can figure it out and figure out that information that we got downloaded, what's the logic behind it, who, the throat being, voice, movement, song, whatever, how you ever want to express your energy. Usually your group instructors have strong G, or they're in the group that they're with. They have that great sense of G. So everybody just wants to be with them and feel good. And then you have your other areas as well below: heart wheel, solar plexus, sacral, splenic, and root. But it all kind of works together. So when you go into a group class and you really don't like that teacher, just for some reason you don't like them. For some reason, they may trigger your splenics area, that if you don't like that authority or it's afraid of it. So it's really kind of interesting that when you go into this movement and exercise world, you're going, oh, it doesn't work for me, or it works for me. But if you take it on an energy basis, it's just really just energy. So you have to go and find an area that works best for you, or no area at all, and just be with yourself. So let's go into the next. So exercise, movement, and arts. My whole thing is going that you have an athlete who is on the athletic field. We talked about golf, right? That is a group activity with individual performance, unless you're playing best ball, right? Then you have being on the field, you have your swimming, you have your collective, you have soccer, you have individual performance, like wrestling or tennis and doubles. You have your music fitness. Now, I lean on this because many people don't think those that are in the music industry or the arts industry, that they're not athletes. And they're an athlete of the arts. The disciplines that you find on the football field are the same disciplines you're going to find in an orchestra or in a band. It takes that commitment, that discipline, that honor, that practice. And if you show me a piano player who plays Rhapsody in Blue and doesn't sweat, I don't know if you can't say that they're not an athlete. It's a whole body experience where they use their feet, their hands, and they have to be dynamic on the bench. You have your theater fitness, you look at Broadway, look at them. You have your dancers, your musicians, you have those that are building and crafting the stage sets. All of those demand skill, discipline, and such. And your arts and crafts fitness. You look at those who do mural paintings. It's like being on a playground hanging on that scaffolding. So that takes balance, skill, endurance. So when we talk about exercise, I've expanded to being all facets of life, that it's not just being a soccer player or being an Olympic gymnast or such. You look at where your passion lies that requires physical movement, and that's your fitness program. And if you go back to when you were a child, what did you enjoy doing? Hiking, climbing, swimming, painting. Figure out what was that passion as a child. And then you can lean on that to better develop your fitness program. So it's not just exercise. The exercise is creating that happening. So how does that implement into your design? Let's start with the manifestors. So Lynn, not up and down if you agree with me or not, and the other manifestor in the room as well. Okay, tell me if I got this head on. If not, please, hands up, give me a chat. So in this, as we know that in order for you to be in alignment, you need to inform others of what your intention is. Not asking permission, and if you're not in alignment, there's anger. And there's usually the anger from you that you're not being understood, what the problem is, or the anger of the other one going, if you just told me what you were doing, right? So in that, the ideal is to go, just for us as living with manifestors, when we say you go, just go do it on your own. Just, you don't need to ask permission. Next thing you know, it's like, where'd they go? Oh, they went for a run. Oh, what did they do? Oh, okay. It's like, where'd they go? But you have to burn that energy. And it's really important because you move fast. And sitting idle and doing yoga, it may not always be the easiest thing because being still is kind of counterintuitive to moving fast. You want to get through that a little bit faster. So it takes a lot of discipline in order to do things slower, unless you're in your world. Also, I want to say that if you want to have others join you, it's kind of like you need to create that invitation, and if you want to have that inclusion, I want Paul to play with me. I want this to do with it. It's creating a lot of that initiation, and that's really important because if you can create groups, you can create this, and you don't need to wait to respond. It's going, wouldn't it be great for us to generate a swim team? And next thing you know, you got like 20 people there, and then you need like going, what do we do with that? So, and then burning that physical energy is so important, because if you don't keep that energy burnt, it just, lack of a better word, manifests into a bubble that things become too big. And then the smaller things start turning into little bursts of flame. So you have to do your incremental burns. So doing a quick little exercise for 5 minutes, bam, it's done. Doing another quick little exercise for 5 minutes, done. So you do great with those incremental little bursts of energy. And then you can actually have interval training where like Tabata is really great for manifestors because it's intense focus and rest, and you burn it all out. And the next thing you're done. So my son is a manifestor, and one of the things I talk about a video game workout, because he needs to move so quick, is that he loves the Ring of Fire from Nintendo, and it's a Pilates ring, and he goes into battle with these villains and such that and then when he wins, then he succeeds by doing like 12 squats and other things, and he battles with this ring. So he gets a sweat and he gets his video game joy. Kills two birds with one stone. It's so brilliant. And if I tried it, I thought, this was fun, let me try this. It's like, okay, Mom, go away. But it was like, I wonder if Paul would play with me, and then it's like, all okay. So it's totally, let them do it on their own. If they want inclusion, they'll let you know. Otherwise, don't ask. Okay, I'm going to take a pause. I see 12 in chat. Let me take a peek.
I can tell you real quick. First, everyone resonated, I think, with changing exercise to movement and fitness. That was great. And just some thoughts around this manifestor movement, something like bike riding, hit, bear, or bar, it's called, I guess. Those kind of little intense, but can be short spurts too sometimes. Do you think that fits, Natalie?
Absolutely. Yes. So I'm reading on this. Okay, so musicians are burning the same energy as athletes when they perform. Exactly. The mind has so much to do with it all. Exactly. Manifestor, my daughter, yes, doesn't sit idle. No, I don't do video goods, but I can try that. Yes. Yeah, you see, it's like let's keep going. Beautiful. The next thing we have is like, we have our man gens. Now, what I like, I actually flip this around as a manifestor generator myself. I have come to actually flip my language to become that I'm a generating manifestor. The reason why I say that is because the manifesting generators, we have to first learn how to respond. And then once we respond, we can manifest within our box. So it's so we can initiate anything we want within a box that we respond to. So but manifesting generators think we can initiate things, and we initiate things without responding, you'll end up doing absolutely nothing. So I now flip this, that I'm a generating manifestor. so it just kind of flows a little easier in my brain. So in that, that's why I put in there that we need to have the need to respond. And if we don't go into the line of response, we get frustrated. And then you add with that our need to inform, and then if we're not in alignment, anger. So we're a handful when we're not in alignment, absolute handful. So again, we need to take a blend of what the manifestors do. When we need to go out and do something on our own and just like burn out our energy, just let me go. It's like going, I need to get out of here and go for a walk. Boom, I'm out of here, okay? And then the other part is, but if I'm not doing that in my alignment, I'm going, but I need to respond to this. And I'm going, should I go? I shouldn't do this, And then you'll find some manifesting generators just kind of like in defibrillation, they're just kind of like floating like this, and which is painful to a projector because they're going, oh my God, we're going to have to watch this all day long. And the manifestors have going boom, 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 boom. You know, like, okay, well, will you get out of my way? Because we're just exploding. So again, if somebody to play with us, if we're not responding to our sense, then we reach out to other people to come play with us. Then we're frustrated, we're angry. How come no one's available to play? And I say this play because my whole world is about play. So I use that word as exercise play, machine play, to share together. Let's do some band time, you know, whatever your play, a definition of play is. And so then, but then again, we're generators, and generators need to burn energy. We need to feel fulfilled about working, and we can work and work and work and work and work. So generators are great for endurance work, which are long hikes, painting rooms, you know, just go until it's all done because that's so satisfying. And then also do very well in, again, hit programs, thrill things, get that done, little bursts of energy. So you can find a great variety of opportunities when you're looking for man-gens to exercise. Or if you have an open center that you need some support, you can lean on a man-gen somewhere along the line and utilize their energy for your workout, providing they're in alignment and doesn't throw you off the cliff. So, okay, all right. Anything like that? Let's take a quick look in the chat. My oldest, okay, got to get hitting in the second wind, yes. This is my son, so much sense, 10 months. Perfect, okay. Coming into the next level are your projectors. Where's my projectors? Waiting for the invitation, and if you're not, you're a little bitter on that. So, well, this is where it's kind of rough. If you look at it, the manifestors are great because they're great for the invitation. You want to come play with me? Or you're going, they didn't ask me, they just went out on their own. Or you have the manifesting generators going, I wonder if they would be willing to play with me. And you're going, but you know, so you're waiting for the invitation. So sometimes projectors just do really great. Again, they only need their own invitation. You know, it's like, that's it. And I don't need to ask anybody else. I just ask myself, do you want to do this? And then you can figure out your authority and have a great conversation with yourself or with your cat. Or, you know, if you have the soundboard activity, and then have that, do you want me to do this? Yes, I'll do that. But the only thing that's really nice about also with projectors is they're not on, they like to have structure in what they do because it's fulfilling and they can see where it takes them. So going for a long bike ride, it's a nice space of clearing, because the nice thing about a projector is that since they have that ability to see into the future, they need to clear their head. And when they get their body into a rhythm, then the brain is clear and all the obstacles move aside. It's that bird's eye view. For generating and manifesting generators, is us finding the zone. And then we see all the big pictures fall into place. But for projectors, who we lean upon for that advice, it's critical that they can see. And if they don't burn their energy enough, then they may miss the invitation because they're wrapped up in not being in alignment. The also thing is that projectors can be very competitive, but they won't let anybody know about it. They really won't. And then they'll go, you know, you really, you know, it's like, what do you mean that's your best time? You know, I can do this. And they'll feed that little bit of invitation for competition, you know, because they want the competition. But just enough. So when they go out, they're competing with themselves and they're quietly competing with others. But again, projectors can go for long long endurance, not really ones for who go after short, intense stuff. It's just not, it's not there. And you have their, and again, working ideal space. The afternoon might be a great space, but it's pockets of time where they feel best, where it's going to be most fulfilling. And if they don't get their pocket of time, they get really bitter because other people are holding them in a box that they don't want to be in. So it's really important that they take their own invitation and take and do what fulfills them most. Yeah, Jackie, you're smiling. I hit on that, right? Okay. So projectors, we need you clear, because God knows if we don't have you in our future, we're going to work ourselves into a hole in a carpet, you know, and not get down the hall. So, okay, moving into the last, and this is really, and I know one reflector myself. This is my third who swims, who doesn't want to wait to be invited, and shares Marilyn's working on that. It's okay, good. So the next are your reflectors, and you know, now the one thing that's fun about reflectors is that they need to wait and discuss, and the hard part is, since they need a 28-day lunar cycle to make a decision, right? 28 days. I had worked with a reflector. I really didn't realize this until I physically had as a client, and she goes, I made a decision to work with you a month ago. And I went, and she goes, and it took me a month to decide. I go, well, that's a full lunar cycle. And she finally understood it when I did her design reading, that it was totally in her design to wait a full month before she actually did anything. And people were going, how come you started looking at this, and how come you didn't do this? Because she had a whole month. And so in that, I knew that being a completely open-centered being, that my energy was going to be reflected and amplified over and over again. So I had to be really kind of sensitive to that, being that, I had to be making sure that I was not fulfilling her energy centers. And that's not an easy thing to do. So reflectors, when they're in a group situation, all that energy can be too much. So their best space is usually with nature. Get the energy from the trees, grab the energy from the animals, grab the energies from that, and they can really work well in that environment, or in an environment that's quiet, an environment that's one-to-one, small groups, slower pace. Because when you get all the amplification in a totally open-centered being, it can be almost devastating and exhausting before even starting their exercise. So into that, I'm going to go into another level here and jump into our motors. So in our motors, as we know, with generators, we have our sacral. The sacral is so important, generators, that we exercise every day and burn the battery. If you don't burn the battery, you can catch that second wind, and then you're going to find yourself exhausted. That's a given. And people who live with generators, force them to go out for a walk, get them to burn their energy. Nothing's worse than a sacral being, a generator that has the Energizer bunny rabbit drum playing, and they're going late into the night when they should be in bed. So, heart, and then going into your heart, will, ego. Now, those who have inconsistent exercise patterns, they really need the appointment with the trainer. They need to see a buddy when they go to the yoga class. They need to be able to be part of a club or the running club. They need to make sure they show up. It's an appointment on their calendar. Those who already had that heart, will, ego center defined really have no problem in that commitment. They just show up. Yeah, it's really easy. And they go like, what's your problem with this? So but when you have someone with an open center, they need to know I need you to help me, because once we make that commitment to you, you hold us accountable. Solar plexus, I would say in this is like, wow, it's like being part of the wave. So when you're in your higher wave, your exercise is going to be so fulfilling and so amazing, and everything else, you're going to be on that high. And it's going to take you everything in that low to going, do I really want to go to that kickbox class? So you have to kind of be following your wave, but being aware of your wave, where you are in your cycle. You need to make sure that you plan your movement program when you're in your high. And it can just accordingly, that maybe you do some isometric work and quiet breathing work when you're in your low. It's really important to make sure that it's defined. Be aware of your cycle. And then for those with the adrenaline, with the root defined, oh my goodness. Okay, with that pulsing, wow, you're either on or you're off. You're going to be going, yeah, let's go. You want to go do this? Let's go do this. And the next thing you know, it's like, no, I don't want to do this. So for when you're in that low, when you don't want to do this, that's when you really want to have that appointment with someone who has the heart will defined, that you've got that commitment and they drag you to action. Because if you're in the low of the solar plexus, your root is off, and you don't have the other two, let's say, then you really need to be in a group community where you're needed, where your presence is expected. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, all right, I'm gonna take a peek at the chat.
This is, I want to say about this slide, this is great because Audra was asking if it's defined or undefined, and you explained kind of like the root. What I was going to say, the root here, you're talking about it being defined, which is pulsed. It's sometimes on and sometimes off. If it's undefined, you don't technically have that motor center, Audra. Right. So you were asking that, yeah.
Yeah, you don't have that motor center.
But this is great because, and the one thing I was just going to add is that these are all ears. So like you might be a projector and have potentially a heart will defined motor. So it kind of like you kind of have to pick the ingredients to make up who you are, right?
Exactly. And if you have a pressure center of an undefined root, it is, and you want to go do something, and you're a person that you're hanging out with and creating that pressure center that you needed to do this yesterday, that can be such an angst-driven workout that it doesn't even feel fulfilling. And then you have them in the low, but you drag them out, and then it's like you have to kind of lean about how the pressure center is there. And being that, again, I have a manifestor son who has a defined root, that it's like, I feel like I should be doing something all the time. Or you have someone where your channels together create a defined root, such as my husband and myself, that when we're together, I feel like I should be doing something, but I don't necessarily want to be doing something. So it kind of creates that bubble of going, do I want to do something of exercise? Do I want to do something of this? But it's like, until we separate, then I go, oh, this is what I want to do. So you have to kind of create that space.
Audra's asking, how do you get more consistent? And I think that speaks more to the heart, the will center, because as we know, we've talked about this, most of us don't have it defined. So the consistency isn't there. So maybe you can talk about that, and I'll give a quick example. My husband's will is defined, and I noticed biking with him, he's got such endurance, the consistency to just keep riding, even if it's a long distance, just get it done. When I'm with him biking, I can keep up, but if he moves on ahead, my will is just like depleted. So then I have to rely on maybe the root or other motors. But so can you speak about consistency?
Well, the consistency that he's generating is that he's getting you out there. So biking with him is just enough, but when he breaks that distance of energy, so can't really feed off his energy anymore, right? So there's two things, like, oh, he's so much faster and so much better. That's, yeah, that's a little depleting because, you know, it's out there all of a sudden. But it's almost coming to the agreement that when you split, you go off and explore. So this moves us into the next slide, the funny arrows. And I call
And
these the funny.
just give a little intro to this because we haven't really done arrows very much yet until we get to the class.
So I realized that that's why I called them the funny arrows, because I know the group is not completely familiar with them. The funny arrows that when you're doing at your chart, you have the arrows on the left, which is in your unconscious and physical section. That's your red section. And then you have your conscious, which is things that you know about and how your body works, which is in the mind. So it's split in here. Now, and this is where the nitty gritty comes into it, where I lean back into you being a kid. So because that's the place where we're most authentic to ourselves. And yeah, we had some imprinting if you want to go into all that stuff. So let's go into your unconscious, your red, the design that other people see that you not always know about. So in digestion, in the space, this is how you absorb the world. And I'm going to say in a physical space, not actually digesting information, digesting not just food, not just like how do you receive this information? There are some areas where you know that if you like structure, consistent routines, that's what you lean upon. And think about when you have to go back to when you were a kid. What did you like? And then when you have this problem, you have to write this stuff down. You just don't think about it, you have to write it down. Or were you someone who liked to climb trees and play and be curious and do intramural sports versus being on the cheerleading team or this, and that there was practice on this time? You know, did you like the fact having a crazy schedule, or did you like having that every Tuesday at 4 o'clock, it was going to be that? What did you thrive on? So that's how you kind of look at your area of how do you digest the environment, the work around you? How did you digest the movement when you were a kid? The other part is the environment. Do you like riding the same, going into biking, Krista, do you like riding the same bike trail over and over again, right? So you like that. Well, I like bike riding a lot, but I get so bored riding the same bike trail that I'm craving to take that to new places. So I like to go in and go curious and looking at houses, or I like to go to other trails, put the bike on a car, go someplace else. I like the curiosity. So it's not necessarily I want to bike every Saturday and do the same thing because I keep taking that same space in. I like to go explore with the activity that I mastered. So you see, this is how you start building the consistency, is getting into some of this area. So if you like Tuesday 4 o'clock and you like it on this in this area, then you build it on that. If you want to play around and new information is always more interesting, then you take that someplace else with an activity you like. Does that help? Nod, yes, yeah. Okay. All right. Then coming into the area of what you know how you work and how your mind works, you have to think about your awareness. Do you think in patterns and logic? And when you see lines, are they just all lines? Or are you in the area that when you don't know exactly where the information comes from, but you can pull details from all different areas and you can create a general place, a general consensus of things, versus going, I know from book number, this book, page 22, or whatever it might be, that you can extract that data so easily. And this is this pattern, this is this logic, this is that. So you have to kind of go into going, when I go out, when I create a, when I teach a class or I do a training program, I'm pulling resources from all different areas and bringing it into one. I don't know where I know this information. I pulled it from somewhere in my past of my brain and my experiences, whereas some others can actually pull it exactly and know and tell you exactly from where it's from. They have the detail of it. So what do you like? Do you like to bring a meld of things into your exercise program and movement program? and play, like write your own music and play with that? Or do you like to play someone else's piece and then master that? Okay. And then coming in, and this is really the big one about creating your consistency about what you want. When you're creating your perspective in there, you can visualize exactly what you want. And as someone says, you can go into Amazon and going, I want a yellow couch with stripes and this and that, and I want this exactly dimensions. And you can go and pick it out. And you know what you're going, so this is this, if you want to go to a gym, this is this class, or this class, I want this, and this. You know exactly what you want. And then the others, they're going, I don't know exactly what I want, but I want it to feel like it's nature. I want the sky. I want it to feel cool. I want to be this. And we're searching for that environment. So it's up to us to lean on the people going, this is kind of what I want it to feel. I call it where I go, this is kind of the idea where I want to go. This is part of the vacation I want. And that's why I always would need a travel agent, because I don't know where it is. I just know I know what I want. So you might need a travel agent for your movement program. Share with them, have a discussion, and have them help you going, oh, you want to go to Holler Rock facility up at Lake Superior. You know, it's like, you want that experience. So it's really, it's leaning into where you want a kid and having the conversations. Yes, okay. Got a couple of yeses. Let me check your chin. How do we gain consistency? It's an equation. And most of us are all combo these categories of body and mind. Yes, it's all a combination, and we're also unique. So it's creating that consistency, but creating consistency is also finding out what do you want and why. That once you really find your deep why, that's your engine to keep going. All right. So to wrap this up, follow your authority and what feels good, right? So again, find some support to find the consistency to help you define your heart will. Find somebody who you can make that commitment to. And you're saying, these are my goals and this is what I want to do. Because when you find somebody with that to help you, you're going to use that person will be your accountability person. All right. Now, it's not necessarily the person that's defined in that. It's also somebody that helps you define that center. If you have an open center and someone else has an open center, but together you define the center, then that is a great accountability partner or a partner to do movement with, because then it's a compromised bond. It's not a overriding bond, overriding channel. If you're familiar with that, who has the dominance? And it's something you really don't, if you don't want the dominance, it's something you can have the partner channel. They have one half, you have the other half. No one dominates. Then also, do you work better at a slower pace with a lot of curiosity? Do you like doing slower strength training? Do you get thrill of excitement? Do you like, what is it that makes you feel good? Again, go back to when you were a kid, when your parents left you alone and you were all by yourself. Did you climb trees and jump out of them? Or did you do pirouettes on the grass? Did you roll? Or did you play with Barbies and horses and things of that? Because if you think about it, even if you're playing with dolls, you're on the ground, you're reaching, you're doing things. It's not sedentary, it's just different movement. Do you like to get the repetition, like swimmers, right? And just get lost in the rhythm of the flow, right? Time can disappear really easily once you're in that space. Do you like structure? Following your Tabata HIIT program, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, 8 cycles, eight Tabatas. Do you like that? And then within that, do you like to have the rigidity of this is what the 8 things are, or do you play within that 8? Oh, I'm going to do this for this 8. I'm going to do that for that 8. Now figure out what kind of piques your curiosity and gives you an element of play. Or if you like to swim, do you like to just swim in the pool? Or do you like to swim in the lake? Or do you like to swim in the ocean? You know, it's the same activity, but, you know, do you want to go do it in the same spot because you like being, this would be like those left arrows, you like the consistency, the rigidity, the structure and such? Or do you like the activity and you practice in that so you can take it someplace else? So again, music, art, fitness, outdoors, water, yoga, it doesn't matter. What makes you and your body sing? What makes it feel good? And then play that song. So with that, ladies, whew, thank you. So let's open it up to some Q&A.
Thank you. I'm gonna pause the recording and then I'll put it back on when we wrap up, just so we can get your info, where to find you. Let us know where we can find you, your website or whatever you'd like to send us to.
Okay, my website is befitanywhere.com. And that's exactly, it sounds like BEFITANYWHERE.com. I have my blog there. I also have a personal blog that I write some of my spiritual stuff. If you want to follow me on Facebook, you can follow me on Golf Fitness. I have a group there. I have Love Connection to Peace, where I put a lot of my spiritual stuff. I keep it a little bit separated because some people don't always like the rule of it all. But if you want me to go to have a deeper conversation with you, I'll be more than happy to spend some time with you and go over what do you do for movement as my gift to you for thank you, and see how we can just do a little restructure in your day, in your design, that you can actually have a better movement experience. So if you like to spend 15, 20 minutes with me, I'll be more than happy with that. And my number to reach me is 908-336-1177, or you can get me at gbabby@befitanywhere.com.